Joining me today is frequent guest co-host Ed Freyfogle. Ed, it's been a few weeks. Welcome back.
How you doing, Steve?
There was a little a little extra there for people watching us on YouTube.
So yeah, I thought I'd ham it up a bit, So.
What's been happening in the last few weeks, Ed?
Well, Steve, we have some big news. As those of you who follow me on Twitter or follow you on Twitter, Steve, there was a huge triumph in the war on administrivia.
Tell me more.
Yeah, so longtime listeners may recall how much I hate wasting my time on administrative crap. To include, one of my biggest pet peeve is when a company sends me the invoice. A company that we're the customer of sends us the invoice at the end of the month of the payment confirmation, and it's just badly named. It's just like invoice.pdf, and then I have to save the file, rename the file, put the file on Dropbox for my accountant. So anyway, I on Twitter, I follow the CTO of Cloudflare, and he tweeted something about like, oh, this customer, said we're great or whatever. And so I replied and said, that's fantastic, but you need to fix your invoice names. And he did. Within 24 hours, now the invoice has a meaningful name and a timestamp. So I have saved for every Cloudflare customer on earth, probably, 2 minutes, per month. So I don't know how many customers I have, but this is huge, man. All of humanity will move forward.
Fighting the good fight, Ed.
That's right.
We need more people like you on this planet.
Well, you laugh, but that's the third company I've gotten to fix their fucking invoice file name format. So
I get the feeling this is something that you feel very deeply about.
It's personal, Steve. It's personal. I hate spending my time on crap like that. So
congratulations. And what else have you achieved in the last few weeks?
Well, I debated just taking the rest of the month off because you're not going to top that. But what else have we been up to? Actually, a couple more things on the admin side, and we'll get to the main topic. The main project is quantifying our support burden, and then once we've quantified it, we're gonna next month, the whole strategy is how do we reduce it and make it more efficient and everything. But another thing on the admin side is we're a European business, and we build most of our customers via Stripe in Euro. So our Stripe account is in Euro because we're a European business. But many of our customers pay us, of course, in dollars or pounds or whatever. So we now opened Transferwise, lets you have holding accounts in other currencies. So the big problem is when Stripe would bill a customer in dollars, let's say, and then they would convert that into euro and then send it to our euro account. But the problem is they use, of course, a bad conversion rate. So we're losing.
Good from their point of view, bad from your point of view.
I guess, yeah, it's not the market rate. So we're losing, first of all, of course, we pay Stripe's fee for being the payment processor, but then we're losing an additional 1 or 2% because of the bad conversion rate. So now we have these holding accounts which I have to say, Transferwise makes it so easy to set this up. So now what happens is Stripe bills the customer in dollars, takes their payment processing fee, but then transfers it to our dollar account on Transferwise, and then we have the dollars there, and then we're going to use that to pay our dollar expenses, or we can transfer it from Transferwise to our account in euro, but at a much better exchange rate. So
Stripe allows you to have multiple payout accounts, one for each currency. Is that what's going on?
It's kind of weird. They do let you have multiple payout accounts for, but only for certain currencies. So I don't know why that is, and it's kind of annoying because, for example, we have customers who pay us in, say, Canadian dollars. We can't do payouts in Canadian dollars, but we can do US dollars, pounds, and then I think a few other currencies that weren't particularly relevant for us, like Norwegian kroner and stuff like that. But so anyway, we estimate, all in told, this will add up to 1 or 2% of revenue a month.
What always got me is, or gets me is I do my accounting also in euros within Stripe. So the American company pays me $100 a month or $99 a month. Stripe takes their fees plus the currency conversion. Now I have euros. Now I have a US bill to pay. I pay a currency conversion fee back again. And sometimes like
That's
depending,
exactly the
it can
point.
add up to like a total of 5%. The whole round trip of my money's just vanished.
Well, so that's just it. So now the dollars go into our Transferwise account. Within Transferwise, our business account there, you can have a debit card there, so we can just pay the US dollar fees that we pay just in directly from that. So yeah, it should. It's a little more admin, but it should save. It's an easy way to save a decent chunk of money.
Awesome.
So,
I'm a big fan of Transferwise, or Wise as the free brand.
Yeah, they just rebranded. It's now called wise.com. So
when I sold my desktop product almost a little bit more than a year ago, I received the money in US dollars and I left some of it in TransferWise to pay American business expenses so I could avoid that currency conversion fee both ways. But I like what you're doing, which is like an ongoing basis. And then I guess you just using TransferWise as excellent rates, you just move US dollars to euros when there's too much money in the account.
Well, that is one issue, is that I have heard, so TransferWise, it's not technically a bank, from a strictly legal perspective. Yeah. So there is a risk, like if they go bankrupt or something, you're not protected by deposit insurance or whatever various schemes they have. So I'm not going to let too much money build up in there. But, once a week, I'll just go in, and if we have money, then take it out. And
nice work. That sounds like you're making your business more and more efficient every time we talk.
Well, that and the Cloudflare invoice thing. I mean, it's just it's really it's going pretty well. Yeah.
But to what degree is it worth chasing after those 1 or 2% when you could also be putting the effort into growing sales? Like, you have a fixed amount of time you can work each week, right?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I mean, this was an easy one. It's the kind of thing you set it up once and then I get the 1% every month forever. So
yeah.
I guess obviously if your MRR is whatever, €1,000 a month, then it's not worth doing. If your MRR is more substantial, then it probably at some point is worth doing. But of course, yes, you should also work on sales. But I think you gotta kind of alternate, right? Like I spent most of the year, my big project has been marketing stuff. So at some point you just kind of get burned out on that. And then you're like, all right, let me take a week to work on, I don't know, admin or whatever, general efficiency improvements or whatever. So
that change can actually be quite helpful, quite refreshing, changing your focus. Hey, how's the marketing going for you? You said you've spent most of this year on marketing stuff.
Frustrating, I have to say. I mean, hard to measure. It's the same issue I think we've talked about before, is that a lot of our marketing is kind of brand building, and it's very difficult to attribute that to an actual, transaction. So, some of it's fun and interesting, and I learn new things, and it's kind of challenging, but obviously it'd be great if you'd be like, okay, I did X, and then the next day we got a huge new customer or whatever. That isn't really the case. So what about you, Steve? What have you been up to?
What have I been up to? Well, I've been trying to recruit a freelance developer, a Java developer. Before I say anything too negative, I have to say I've been getting some good applications from people who I think are well qualified for the job and look like they'll be enjoyable to work with. Now, having said that, the whole process is starting to make me hate the human race a bit more. Applications that meet only one of the two essential things. It says these are the two essential skills you must have: Java and MySQL. And I get applications with one. The job advert says you must be in the Spain time zone plus minus 2 hours. I'm getting applications from all over the world. Sure. It says you have to have excellent English. I'm getting applications in Spanish and German. Like, it drives me a little bit crazy. I kind of knew this would happen as soon as I put the job advert out there as well. But the worst of all is the other job boards or wannabe job boards who are seeing this as a chance to try and recruit me as a new customer to their board.
Yeah.
You've been through this, right?
Yeah, hiring sucks, man. I mean, this is the whole problem. You got to wade through all the crap. I once we at my company previously we had expanded to India, so we had an Indian version of our service, and it was doing well, and so we had to hire a country manager for India, and we thought maybe like a room full of Europeans were not the right people to understand the Indian market. Anyway, if you ever are in need of some email, Steve, post a job ad on LinkedIn saying you want to hire an Indian country manager. Within one day we got 750 emails. Like I couldn't turn the thing off fast enough, and I know many were completely irrelevant, but of the 750, there were probably 200 that were at least in the realm of possibility that this person might be qualified.
I guess there's 1.x billion Indian people. Like if you've been finding a country manager for say Slovenia,
yeah,
you would hardly get any applications. But India, I mean, that's not exactly narrowing down the possible number of candidates.
No, and they're all on LinkedIn.
All on LinkedIn.
Anyway, you need to have a process, and you need to be ruthless about culling. Obviously, if someone, if they send the application not in English, just delete it. Don't even waste any further time.
Yeah. And I find that hard to do mentally. I kind of want to write to each person to say, oh, look, the advert did say this. Why aren't you doing this? But yeah, I have to be ruthless. It's the only way I can handle it. So we're closing applications next Wednesday, which will actually be slightly in the past by the time this episode gets published. And then I start the real hard part of actually working out who I want to take to the next step.
Do you know the joke, right, about the boss who's like, he sees he has a sales team or something, and he sees some people are just luckier than others, right, at closing deals for whatever reason. People are working equally well, but this guy just always closes the deal, and it seems there's an element of luck to it. So how can we test for that in our applicants? Right. So he takes the stack of applications and then just throws half away, and he says the ones who left are the lucky ones.
Well, you say it's a joke, but I'm sure that people out of desperation have done that. I had to hire people a long time ago, back when people would actually apply in like something that you would print out, and you would actually literally have a stack of CVs. And I just remember how overwhelming it was just to look at them and think, how am I possibly supposed to decide somebody's future to some degree,
right,
like out of these, and just trying to decide whether somebody is qualified and right, a good fit based on a few words in an email or in a PDF.
What we did in the case of India is then everyone who looked at all vaguely qualified, like they were from like a digital job, like they had some background qualification that made them seem relevant, we would send them a test. And the test wasn't hard at all. The test was like very basic, like 4 or 5 questions. And one of the questions, for example, is just like, what is your favorite website? Why? And you could learn a lot by how people answer that question, because some people would put just a URL and no explanation. Some people wrote like 4 pages, and so like you can immediately be like, I don't want either of those, because and some people would write a well-structured paragraph that would be like, I like this service, here's why, I really appreciate this feature, and be like, okay, this person can coherently communicate. So I would think about doing something like that. I mean, it doesn't need to be something that takes up a lot of the candidate's time or anything, but
just as a filter to get through those who can actually read questions and answer what it says in a coherent way. So did you end up finding a good person in India?
Oh yeah, he was great. He was fantastic, but it was a lot of work. I mean, basically, of those 200 people, sent them this test that narrowed it to, let's say, like 50 people. Then I think we sent them a more detailed kind of second test that was more actual, like questions more like technically relevant for the job. And then we narrowed that down to, I don't know, maybe 10 people I spent, did video interviews with. And then finally we brought 2-3 candidates we flew them to London for like to spend some time with the team and stuff.
Nice.
But then the guy we found in the end, he was fantastic, and it really improved our business in India. So.
That's the thing. You find the right person, and it's such a big thing for your business. When it's a large business, each person can make an impact. But in a business the size of mine, getting the right person will be very much a positive, but getting the wrong person is really bad in such a small team.
But the thing is, there's no shortcut. I mean, you just have to accept that it's going to take time and effort.
So I really wanted to do this a year ago, but then COVID happened and getting stuck in Australia was a delay. But I think I've also been procrastinating it just because I had a feeling that it was going to be difficult with a lot of unqualified applicants, and also the mental challenge of having to make a decision based on limited information. But we'll get there. We'll get there. And I think it's been holding feature upvote back a little bit. We haven't been improving as quickly as I would like. And I think also I'm ready to hand over the code. I'm a bit bored of working on the code myself for so long.
All right. Well, big step. Very nice. Good luck.
Yeah. So there's that. What else has been happening? I've been rethinking about Sabre feedback a little bit. Do you remember that my strategy's been all along? Actually, why don't we save that for another episode? Because I'd rather talk about the support stuff that you've been working on. Should we move on to that?
Let's do it.
Okay, tell us about what you've been doing with support.
Right. So basically, we're as we alluded to earlier, we're always trying to be more efficient and reduce the amount of admin. And of course, one admin thing is support issues that come up. So as you grow, it grows proportionally. And so basically the idea was how can we make this more efficient, or how can we, maybe there are things we can do to stop support requests before they even come in, or handle them more promptly. But so we started kind of thinking about it, and then we're like, well, first of all, let's get a handle on what is the actual support burden. And so our goal in March, every time any type of support request comes in, pretty much by any channel, we log it in a spreadsheet, and we record, the date, how it came in. So, we have like a contact form on our website. We also have a support email address. Also, unfortunately, some people kind of just email me directly, or other members of the business directly, which is of course always a disaster, because then it's like inevitably they email like on the day you just took 3 days off or whatever. Anyway, so how it came in, how quickly we replied, whether it's a customer or just a free trial user, or just a prospective customer. We have another issue, which language it was in. So, we're a German business, and some customers email us in German. So on the one hand, that's kind of good, because I feel like, German customers tend to like purchasing from German businesses, and it's fine. We can answer them in German. On the other hand, it means if we ever try to kind of outsource this, then we probably need a German speaker. So that reduces the pool of potential, people who can handle that. But anyway, so the whole idea this month was just kind of record, what is the support burden. And it's been interesting, because once you record it, you learn, you do see patterns and things that maybe you wouldn't notice just doing it day by day.
So what patterns have you started to notice already?
Well, one big problem we have is it is shocking. Again, coming back to my favorite topic of invoicing, we get a lot of requests from people who are just like, please, can you send me my invoice? From like the accounting department, obviously from customers. And the thing is, of course, we already mail them their invoice. And of course, in the account dashboard, they can already access their invoice whenever they want. But people, this is a leap too far for some people. So we're trying to figure out how do we make that more clear. And actually, we already undertook some efforts there where we I don't know if this will help, but in the email that we send with the invoice, we try to now remind people, like, you can always access your invoices in your account dashboard and go to this URL and stuff like that. But the big problem, I think, is we have some customers, for whatever reason, the email that gets sent with the payment confirmation is getting blocked. And so they're never getting it.
Yeah.
And that's just super annoying, man, because like it's such a terrible use of their time and of my time to just be like getting a file and sending it to them, So
I'm not sure. Those are things that founders shouldn't be doing at all.
We don't have the thing is, it's not that, so this is just it. We only have, it's myself and my partner. So it's not, and it's not a big enough volume that I can justify paying someone to work on this, right?
Yeah.
If it's one email a day or 2 emails a day, it's like, that's not, how do I pay some,
Yeah,
it doesn't really work.
Yeah. Well, you can find a €500 a month person who's just doing an hour a day, but then you're not getting that rapid response. People could sometimes wait 24 hours to get basic answers to basic questions.
Exactly. So let's see. The month isn't over yet, so we haven't. We're not going to draw too many conclusions until we see at the end of the month. We're also recording. It's interesting to see how quickly we respond to people and what we can do better there. One thing actually, we don't use any kind of tool. We just kind of have a joint. We have like support at email address that people email. So the question is, a lot of people use these services like Help Scout or whatever. Maybe we should use some kind of tool like that. I don't know.
Or Jitbit. We had the founder of Jitbit on last week's episode.
Yeah. For example. So we don't use any kind of tool like that. Basically, because again, the volume has always been so low that it's hard to justify. But it is kind of creeping up, So any ideas that any listeners have of how we could be more efficient here? It's not a big problem. This isn't usually disruptive, but the problem is the volume is not high, but it is steady.
Yeah.
And so it's the kind of thing where you're like, oh, I'm going to take, I want to fully disconnect. And obviously we can coordinate when we go on holiday or whatever, but it means like you can't really fully, someone has to be dealing with this, right?
So last year, Kevin McArdle from Shore Swift Capital was on the show, and he was saying that one of the things they fix with businesses they acquire, this is a guy whose business is acquiring other SaaS companies. Typically, one's doing around, I think, $20,000 to $100,000 monthly revenue. So let's talk about.
I've met him at Microsoft Europe.
So I remember him saying about a typical problem he finds with a business that's doing around $20,000 or $25,000 per month is often the founder is still doing support and still answering those very types of emails you just described, billing problems, finding invoices. And he says the founder should not be doing it. And the first thing they do is with those types of businesses is find somebody to do the support, to handle at least what they call the first line of support.
Yeah, and but my guess is they can spread that across several businesses, right? So if you had one person who's doing, the volume of support that we have, it doesn't, one person could do it for 10 businesses.
Yeah. And this probably exists.
Maybe.
I do have a friend who's got a small SaaS that was a one-person SaaS. It mostly is, and he wanted to do some traveling and realized that support was a problem. So he found somebody to do support for, I think it's like for $500 a month, and just an hour a day. And he says sometimes that guy has no work to do, but he's happy with that because it relieves him of the burden. And in preparing for this, he went through some process. It sounds kind of similar to what you're doing, and ended up automating things, making better docs, whatever. He said actually by the time he was done preparing things for the support person, there was hardly any support left, but which is still a big win. It's a big win.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. That's kind of my hope as well. That early next month we're going to review the list, and hopefully we see some things that we can, some low hanging fruit that we can do to kind of cut the burden at least.
I was also thinking about this problem where somebody writes, "Oh, can I have my invoice?" And it's been emailed, it's on their dashboard. Instead of giving them a helpful answer, tell them, we have a good document, we have a good explanation of this in our help docs. Here's the link to it. And,
Yeah.
they might ask once, and they might ask again the next month. And then after that, they're just going to realize they just get this answer. Like, you're kind of educating people. And it might sound rude, but you're actually saving their time and your time.
You know what? We actually had exactly this discussion. And because one of these customers, it's a large customer, right? So they spend a lot of money, and for whatever reason, the accounting person isn't getting the email, and every month they're like, "Can you send the invoice?" And obviously, I've explained numerous times, like, just go here, log in. Here's your email. Here's your account login. But they don't do it. And so then I was like, well, maybe we should stop sending it. And obviously, if we always reply with the invoice, we're training them to just always ask for it. Or the other idea I thought, I guess it'd be a bit more aggressive, but say, look, here's the documentation, here's how you do it yourself. Or if you want, I'm happy to do it. But if we're going to do this every month, I have to assess an admin fee. Of 50 euro a month or whatever.
You've got to make it high enough that it's actually worth their time, not worth them spending the money. If it's too low, they might think, okay, fine.
Well, yeah. I mean, grabbing someone's invoice and mailing it to them takes me 2 minutes or whatever. But it's the fact that I have to be online to do it. I have to check my emails or whatever. But so, and what about I also thought, would they get mad if I'm like, oh, you have to pay extra for this or whatever,
I'd just be curt, less helpful than you would want to be. It takes a little bit of overcoming the default behavior. This is my company. I want to be as helpful as possible. And sometimes you just have to say, actually, it's better not to be so helpful in this case.
Yeah.
Like the big company, they're not going to quit over you, like not being like so quick to send them their invoice instead of giving them a curt answer.
And what about probably that is what I need to do.
Yeah. And when people write directly to the founders, do you just like forward the email to the support inbox?
Well, we don't have a support inbox in that regard. It's just an alias, so.
Okay. So it's right.
So, but of course I always write back and say, look, please always use the support address. It'll help us answer you more quickly. Usually people are good about it. Usually the situation is not that they, are trying to circumnavigate the support system. It's just, they just do whatever is simplest. And so they just search for, this is the email address that pops up in there.
Yeah. I would even write back, I can't do support from this email because of whatever complicated reason. It's going to be much easier if you write to this email address, because then I have the tools available to help. Just something like that. It's a no, but it's a very polite no. Like telling them go right to this other thing, and you have an autoresponder if you use one that makes it very easy to write this polite text.
Yeah. So I have now created a lot of autoresponders as well, and that's been another action from all of this. I had a few, but now I've added many more.
Awesome. So and do you share them? Do you share them with your co-founder?
No, I just do it. So I do all my email in Gmail, and you can have autoresponders there. We do have some kind of templates that are in our text files in GitHub that we use for various situations. But these are just very basic ones, like please write to the support address and stuff like that.
And are you finding that there's areas in which your docs can be improved that's been identified because of this support audit you're doing?
Not yet. First of all, our docs are not bad. We've been doing this for several years, and we've fine-tuned them along the way. The problem with fine-tuning the docs is it doesn't matter how good your docs are if people don't read them, right? If people are too lazy to read them, then nevertheless, of course, you have to fine-tune the docs, and some people do read them, but that's not 100% solution, right?
Well, my thinking with that solution is you want to make sure that Google can answer the question. So when they type in open cage invoice, you want the first response to be your docs page that has everything about this.
Yeah.
Something, because I think a lot of people just typically, not everybody, but a lot of people will try Google using Google to solve their support problem. And they only write to you if that's not helpful.
I don't know. I think that's mixed. I think there are definitely some people who do that. Maybe for technical issues, engineers do that. But like my experience with like the accounting team is they're just going to send me a bill. They don't care. They're not going to.
Yeah.
They're not
And
going to.
have you identified ways to improve your product itself based on the support audit?
Well, we do have, I mean, a fair number of the issues that come in are product issues. And that depends on what the nature of the issue is. I mean, usually we're obviously, if we can fix it, we fix it. But we're not always able to. It depends on what the nature of the question. So, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, it's been an interesting exercise, this meticulously recording every single request that comes in, and then how we deal with it. And it does, you know, by having the overview, you do get some insights and some ideas. So
yeah, it's a good process to do. I've done the same myself on a earlier product a long time ago, and I was getting in about 20. This is the desktop app I sold last year. I was getting about 20 support emails a month as soon as the product hit traction. Sorry, a day, 20 email supports a day when it hit traction. And it was overwhelming. I was just getting through that each day was leaving me with no energy or motivation to do anything else. So I did something like you described and got it down to about 4 emails. And then we kept it at that level for most of the time of running the company after that.
Well done.
4 was manageable, but 20 wasn't.
Well, I'm hopeful we can make some tweaks in April that will have a noticeable effect, because especially as we, you know, summer is not that far away, and ideally I'd like to, when my kids are out of school, work a bit less in that time. So
that would be nice. Yeah, of course, when you start your own software company, support is one of those things that's ultimately inescapable. You can minimize it, you can improve it, but it's always there every day for the rest of the existence of the company.
Particularly with customers. I mean, like obviously if it's just free trial users or whatever, I don't feel that bad about, you know, taking a while to get back to them or whatever. But if it's a paying customer, then, you know, you kind of have to answer them. So
yeah. If there's anybody listening who's an expert in dealing with the support burden, we'd love to hear more about that, tips and what you found yourself, either on our community or on Twitter or any other way you can find us.
Yeah, L tips gladly received.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's wrap it up there. And I think that was a good discussion, Ed.
Very nice. I enjoyed it. See you soon, Steve.
See you, Ed. Bye, everybody.
Bye.